Your Excellency, President İlham Əliyev, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. My name is İsmail Siragildin, and I am a co-chair of the Board of Trustees of the MİNGEÇEVİR International Center, and we are very honored to welcome you to this opening session of the 9th Global Baku Forum. And it is my great privilege to, in this initial session, to ask His Excellency President İlham Əliyev, President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, to take the floor for his opening keynote address to this 9th Global Baku Forum. And with that, the forum will be started. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Good morning, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, dear presidents, dear co-chairs of MİNGEÇEVİR International Center. I welcome you all and wish to express gratitude for being with us today. 9th Global Baku Forum opens today, and I'm sure that the discussions, as always, will be very productive because we have a great audience, members of MİNGEÇEVİR International Center, and guests participating at the forum, I'm sure will contribute to a very open and sincere discussion on the most urgent issues on global arena. And I'm sure that discussions and also exchange of views will help to elaborate new approaches towards resolution of the issues which are on the top of the global agenda. During its activity, MİNGEÇEVİR International Center transformed into one of the leading international institutions addressing global issues and managing to embrace broad international community. And we met yesterday with members of board, and I was informed that at the 9th forum we have representatives, high-level representatives from almost 50 countries. And this is much more than a year ago. So this demonstrates the attractiveness of our discussions. This demonstrates that this platform is needed, and it's very useful. It has a very important practical impact, and I'm sure what will be discussed these days in Baku and also in Shusha on Sunday will be important for decision makers, because elaboration of new approaches is needed today maybe as never before. I'd like to express gratitude to the co-chairs of NGIC, Madam Vicky Freiberger and Mr. Serageldin, for their outstanding contribution in this transformation of the center and the Global Forum, which I think now is the top list of international fora. And also like to express gratitude to all members of board for their active role in this transformation. When I talk about new approaches, it's clear that the world has changed since we met last November here in Gülistan Palace. The change is fundamental with so far unpredictable consequences, but it's clear that the world will be different, and it is already different. Therefore, discussions, exchange of views, sometimes contradictions of different opinions, that's what is needed in order to elaborate the new approaches. And every country, of course, should contribute to that, first of all, with respect to security measures, because issues of security now become the top issue on international arena, of international agenda. And at the same time, I'm sure that open discussions about the current situation in Europe is needed. And Global Baku Forum is an excellent platform for that. It's an inclusive forum which accumulates opinions from different sides. And I think that's how it should be, because we all need to work closely in order to make the world safer and more secure. At the same time, also I'm sure that one of the issues on agenda is what will be the role of international institutions, leading international institutions, what will be the role of leading financial institutions in coping with food crisis, because it is inevitable and it is already next door. And international organizations and leading countries also should take care of situation with potential growth of migrants, which will be a consequence of food crisis. If we add here the situation of the energy markets, which is very unpredictable and which also leads to disparity between producers and consumers. And this is a risk also for producers. And if somebody thinks that countries, producers of oil and gas, are very happy with these high prices, it's wrong assessment. The balance of interest between producers, consumers, stable market, that's what producers really need. And the efforts of OPEC Plus, where Azerbaijan actively participates, were aimed at that. So all these are new challenges. What I'm saying now is absolutely different from what I was saying 6 months ago, sitting on this place. It shows that everything can change, everything changes, and nothing is stable. Of course, as a president of Azerbaijan, I work on the issues related to security of our country, and resolution of Karabakh conflict, I think it's an opportunity for security in the region, for peace in the region. Last time when we met, I broadly covered the issue of related to occupation, devastation, and humanitarian crisis which our people suffered for almost 30 years. Don't want to repeat that. It is known already because so many visitors to liberated territories, politicians, public figures, journalists, representatives of civil society, and they see all with their own eyes what ruins were left after Armenian occupation. And last year, I'm grateful to Nizami Gencevi International Center that they organized one session in Shusha, and we had the opportunity to meet there. And I was actually working as a kind of a guide to our guests, showing them, the situation. Therefore, I want to express our approaches to post-war situation, to situation related to regional security in the Caucasus. Azerbaijan won the war was just, the war was inevitable, and it led to restoration of justice, international law, and national dignity of Azerbaijani people. Now we talk about peace. And I think it's one of the unique cases in the world that after such a long-lasting confrontation, within a short period of time, the country which restored justice and defeated aggressor offers peace. If you look at the history of wars, not in many cases one can see this picture. But why we select peace? Because we want stable, sustainable development in the Southern Caucasus. It's a unique opportunity. Southern Caucasus was disintegrated throughout the years of independence of free countries of Southern Caucasus. For 30 years, it was disintegrated because of Armenian occupation. So now it's a time to establish peace, establish cooperation, and Azerbaijan is working on that. With respect to process of normalization of relations with Armenia, we suggested, it was our proposal, to start working on peace agreement. Armenia did not respond. Then we made another step. We put forward 5 basic principles of international law, including respect to mutual respect and recognition of territorial integrity of both countries, and mutual refrain from any territorial claims now and in the future, and other principles which make the bulk of our proposal. And we were glad to see that Armenian government accepted these 5 principles. So this is a positive dynamics, but now we need to move to practical implementation, because we know from the history of times of occupation when we were negotiating that sometimes words, even on high level, articulated by Armenian officials do not mean a lot, because we need steps. And Azerbaijan already on its side established Azerbaijani Commission on peace agreement, and we expect the same to be done by Armenia. As soon as it is done, or if it is done, then negotiations will start. We also put forward a proposal to start the process of delimitation of our border, because biggest part of our border was also under occupation, and never delimitation took place. Therefore, this process also has started, and the first joint meeting of the border commissions of Azerbaijan and Armenia took place last month on the border. And that was also symbolic that both sides met on the border, and that was also an important message that there'll be progress. Of course, we understand that it's a long way, but it started. At the same time, we expect that Armenia will comply with a trilateral declaration signed on November 10, 2020, with respect to the opening of communications for Azerbaijan to have connection with its autonomous Republic of Nakhchivan. Unfortunately, it's more than 1.5 years since Armenia signed the Capitulation Act, but so far there is no access. And this is unacceptable. First, this is a violation by Armenia of the provisions of trilateral declaration. And also, it creates a kind of a disbalance in the region, because based on the same declaration, Azerbaijan undertook obligation to provide unimpeded access from Armenia to Karabakh region of Azerbaijan, where Armenian population lives. So for 1.5 years, Armenians are using Lachin road to have this connection, unimpeded connection. But Azerbaijanis, they cannot use the road through Armenia, Zangezur corridor, to connect us with Nakhchivan. And this is not fair, and this is not just, and we will never agree with that. Therefore, I think that the deliberate delays from Armenian side of giving us this access is counterproductive. It reminds me of the times of negotiations where Armenia was delaying, and just winning time. And what was the result of that? The result was total defeat on the battlefield and on political arena. The result was that Armenian ideological basis was totally dismantled, and almost 30 years of occupation didn't make Armenian people happier. On the contrary, they have been known by the world community as occupants and aggressors. And after the war ended, now everybody can see what ruins they left during the times of occupation. Therefore, the soonest resolution of the opening of Zangezur corridor is one of the fundamental elements of future peace in the region. If we are not given this access, then it will be difficult to talk about peace. And all efforts of Azerbaijan aimed at normal coexistence and normal neighborhood with Armenia will fail. This is an important issue. Again, Azerbaijan has a right to demand it. Armenian government signed corresponding declaration. Second, Azerbaijan won the war as a country who suffered from occupation, and we have moral right to demand it. Another issue which I want to draw your attention is issues related to Armenians who live in Azerbaijan. I think that the declaration which was announced by President of European Council, Mr. Charles Michel, as a result of trilateral meeting in Brussels between President Michel, myself, and Prime Minister Pashinyan, clearly says that rights and security of Armenian population in Karabakh also will be taken into account. And we fully support it. And rights of security of all people of Azerbaijan are provided by our constitution. Azerbaijan is a multi-ethnic country, and Armenian population is not the biggest ethnic minority in Azerbaijan. Therefore, our constitution provides equal rights for representatives of all ethnicities, including Armenians who live in Azerbaijan for many years. Therefore, rights and security, yes, we will, of course, take care of that. But unfortunately, we start to hear from Armenian government words about status of so-called Nagorno-Karabakh, which is absolutely counterproductive and which is dangerous for Armenia itself, because Nagorno-Karabakh do not exist. Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous District was abolished in the end of 1991 by the decision of Azerbaijani parliament, and we don't have this administrative structure on our territory. Therefore, any kind of reference to so-called status will lead only to new confrontation. Armenian government should understand it and should refrain from attempts to rewrite history. History already is here, and it was a kind of a verbal agreement that no one will talk about status. Unfortunately, it happens, and it can lead to very serious consequences, because if Armenia continues to put under question Azerbaijan's territorial integrity, then Azerbaijan will have no other choice but also put under question Armenian territorial integrity. And from historical point of view, we have much more rights to do it, because the history of the last century clearly shows that in 1920, in November, 6 months after Sovietization of Azerbaijan, Soviet government took historical part of Azerbaijan, Zengezur, and adjusted it to Armenia. Therefore, if Armenia will demand the status for Armenians in Karabakh, why shouldn't Azerbaijanis demand status for Azerbaijanis in Western Zengezur? Because it was fully inhabited by Azerbaijanis. So this way will lead to a deadlock. And I think Armenian government should not forget the lessons of Second Karabakh War and learn that lesson well and refrain from any kind of territorial claims to Azerbaijan. Another issue which I also want you to know is also speculations about the activity of Minsk group. Minsk Group was created in 1992. The mandate was to help to resolve the conflict, but de facto activity led to zero result. Can you imagine for 28 years a group which has a mandate from OSCE did not produce any result? And therefore, after Azerbaijan resolved Karabakh conflict, the need for Minsk Group activity is no longer here. And we think that everybody understands it. Especially after Russian-Ukrainian war, it's clear that three co-chairs of the Minsk Group cannot get together. And we already received these messages that Minsk Group will not, I mean the co-chair institute of this group will not function. In other words, Minsk Group is dysfunctional. Therefore, the attempts of revival also is counterproductive. I think the best way is to say goodbye to Minsk Group. Not thank you and goodbye, but only goodbye, because 30 years is enough. It's time for retirement. So I want also to express our position that any kind of speculations in Armenia or in any other country about Minsk Group lead only to irritation in Azerbaijan. We resolve the conflict. So-called Madrid principles, which were elaborated by Minsk Group, have been resolved. And now we need to think about how to normalize relations with Armenia, sign a peace agreement. I think we can, if both sides work in good faith, we can sign this peace agreement within 1 year. And then the peace will come to Caucasus, and our vision for Caucasus is integration, cooperation and integration. And Azerbaijan already made on several occasions proposals to start, to make a first step. We consulted this issue with our Georgian colleagues, and Georgian government also is supportive to this idea to organize a trilateral meeting on the level of foreign ministers of Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Armenia in Georgia, and to start the dialogue. Unfortunately, Armenia refuses. I don't know what is the reason for that. I cannot find any explanation, any reasonable explanation. The same attempts were made, as far as I know, by some European institutions. Again, there was a refusal. If Armenia does not want to have peace in the Southern Caucasus, then there is a question, what do they want? If they want another war, it will be a catastrophe for them, and they clearly understand it. And I think the government and the revanchist forces in Armenia clearly understand that that will be the end of their statehood. Therefore, I think we need to get a clear answer from Armenia. How do they see the Southern Caucasus? Our position is clear. Position of Georgian government is clear. We want to start this dialogue, start interactions, and of course, without Armenia, it will not be possible. Especially taking into account the current situation, there is a need also to address issues of regional importance related to ecological protection, transboundary rivers which create a lot of pollution to Azerbaijan, issues related to transportation, new opportunities with respect to transit, especially taking into account that Azerbaijan is now coming closer to completion of its portion of the Zangezur corridor. The new routes, energy security also can be part of that. So I think it's time to start, because we lost 30 years. And if not for Armenian occupation, I think Southern Caucasus today would have been a very dynamic and modern and with bigger economic potential region. And a couple of words about energy security, because it's one of the urgent issues on the global agenda. Demand for Azerbaijani energy resources is growing. This February here in this Gülistan Palace, we held annual meeting of Southern Gas Corridor Advisory Council, and it was February 4th. And we're just planning our future steps, but the situation in Europe has changed dramatically. Therefore, the need for Azerbaijani hydrocarbons is growing, and we're trying to do all what we can in order to satisfy the growing demands from many countries. We received, during the last couple of months, requests from many European countries with respect to the gas supply. And of course, it's not easy because we first need to produce it. And we were not planning to increase gas production. Therefore, now we are working with European Commission on this issue. We started energy dialogue with European Commission, which covers not only gas, but also oil and electricity, hydrogen. There's a great potential in Azerbaijan in renewables, and we discussed it yesterday broadly with the members of the board, and we already started. We are planning to continue these efforts, and already more than 700 megawatts of wind and solar generation will be in operation within a year and a half. But this is only the beginning. The potential is much greater. Already we signed the preliminary agreements with respect to 4 gigawatts of renewable energy, and only potential of the Caspian Sea is 157 gigawatts. So it's a huge amount. Azerbaijan definitely, without any doubt, will transform into a green energy zone, will transform into a serious player on international energy markets with respect to renewables. Don't want to take much of your time. I want to conclude my comments and saying once again, welcome and thank you for being with us, and wish the forum success. I'm sure that will be the case as usual. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for this far-reaching overview, and which really starts us well on our deliberations. A wonderful keynote address, and thank you again for that. May I now turn to Her Excellency Vaira Vike Freiberger, the co-chair of the NGIC, who